Hey, this is Kit Cabello of Hard Lens Media. Today I'm joined with Alderman Pawar. He is running for governor of the state of Illinois. Alderman Pawar, thank you for joining us here today. What brings you out here to this anti-fracking event?
So my background is in emergency management, disaster, and poverty. And so I spent a lot of years of my life looking at the connection between the environment, climate change, coal, fracking, and what happens to communities as they become less resilient to disaster. And so I'm here as just a regular person and as an elected official because I think we need to have a statewide ban on fracking altogether and also have a more rational conversation around economic development and the environment. It isn't an either or, meaning the idea that somehow protecting the environment means we don't care about jobs is just a false narrative. We have to be focused on creating jobs in clean energy and putting people back to work, especially those folks who are losing their jobs to automation and trade. So protecting our environment is securing our future for future generations, but it's also making sure that we have clean water to drink, because I can't think of a single human being that can exist without clean water. So I'm here in solidarity with activists from Southern Illinois who are opposing the ID&R permit to open Illinois' well, the first well in Southern Illinois. And I'm here in solidarity with activists from around the state of Illinois.
Essentially, during your run for governor, you're going to be facing off against Pritzker as well as Kennedy, and both these candidates have name recognition as well as large corporate donors. How is your campaign going to differentiate from those two, and what's your outreach towards all of Illinois?
So one thing I see happening over and over again is Governor Rauner is spending a lot of time going to majority poor white communities and telling them that they don't get their fair share of investment because those communities, meaning Chicago and Cook County, do. And those is code for lots of things. It's a race, class issue. But one of the things that I see as I travel around from county to county, and we're spending a majority of our time in places that went 60-40, 70-30 Trump, and going to working class communities that have been ravaged by trade or automation, is that the issues are the same. The inequities around public schools are the same. The inequities around jobs are the same. The inequities around child care and criminal justice reform are the same. White, black, or brown, the issues transcend race and become primarily a class issue. It doesn't mean you ignore institutional racism, or that we don't stop talking about how we police communities. But fundamentally, this is about creating economic opportunity, and I'm barnstorming my way around the state and talking to people in every county. I'm not writing people off based on who they voted for in the last election, and I'm going to places that didn't go Democrat in the last 1, 2, or 3 election cycles, because you got to show up, because I'm running to represent everyone, not just Democrats, not just Cook County, and not just Chicago.
And that's how you're different than Kennedy or Pritzker's campaigns, because they're both in the primary as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the usual Democratic logic is that you fish where the fish are, meaning that 68% of the vote is in Cook County and Chicago. I get that. I mean, you have to do robust outreach here, but you don't write off Central and Southern Illinois simply based on numbers or whether they're red or blue on a map. It's important to talk to everybody, and there are a lot of communities that have been left behind, and my job is to go and face them, go have a conversation around equity, around justice, around economic development, around jobs and schools, and we're doing that.
Now, as we look at our current state, Illinois is running without a budget. What are your essential plans to fix Illinois should you become governor of our state?
So we're running on what we call a New Deal for Illinois, a 21st century New Deal. It rests on 4 key planks. First one is we got to change the way we fund public schools. We're the 5th largest economy in the country, and we're dead last in public school spending. So that means the pie can't be cut up differently. The pie has to be bigger, and that means progressive revenue. The second plank is universal child care. It means acknowledging that having a child shouldn't put you out of work, that having a child and the cost of child care shouldn't be more than what you bring home every month. And so by supporting working families, by increasing support for child care, by making it universal for families making $75,000 or less, we are creating an economic stimulus. The third plank is a big jobs and capital bill so that we can reinvest in our public institutions, our universities, our schools, our river towns, our water infrastructure, libraries. Just like we did after the Depression with the WPA, the Federal Art Administration, our plan is to double down on public institutions.
It's quite clear that Chicago is very different than any of the small towns and medium-sized cities here in our state. How has your experience as alderman prepared you for your campaign to run for governor of the state of Illinois?
So one of the things about being alderman is I'm a legislator. So I've passed legislation like requiring paid sick leave for 500,000 Chicagoans starting July 1 of this year. I worked to raise the minimum wage in Chicago to $13 an hour. I passed legislation creating the nation's fourth independent budget office, ensuring oversight over city council with an inspector general. I passed a dozen pieces of legislation, but I also have to implement these pieces of legislation and see how they play out at a very local level. I make decisions around land use, around affordable housing decisions in my own community. So in many ways, I get to play the part of a legislator and a city manager at a very local level. And so you work on public policy on a more global level, and you see how it plays out, and then you work to refine things as they go along. So I think it's a unique set of, it's a unique skill set. It's a unique set of experiences that I bring to the table. And this is the third largest city in the country. I cut my teeth in Chicago politics. And so for all the talk of, what Chicago politics means and represents, I've also proved that by beating the machine, I can come in and get things done without compromising my values. And so I'm proud of my experience, and I'm happy to bring it to the table as this conversation and the primary continues.
It's quite clear that President Trump and his administration have been angering many people at the national level and at the international level. If you are to be governor of our state, what would you do to protect individual citizen rights? So let's take, for example, if Senate Bill 316 and House Bill 2353 pass, which are calling for the legalization of cannabis here in our state, how would you protect the entrepreneurs and people who want to purchase cannabis, and at the same time, too, protect people who are under threat from Trump's travel ban and even illegal immigrants?
So first, I was the first candidate to come out in favor of legalizing cannabis. I'm also the first alderman in the city of Chicago to allow a medical cannabis dispensary in their ward. I will always stand on the side of people who are seeking to solve issues related to pain, even if it's recreational use. I'm not going to let the federal government attack my constituents for something we've legalized at the state level. It just will not happen. When we're talking about our immigrant and refugee communities, I'll sign the Trust Act. The governor should sign it right now. It's on his desk. I'm sorry that we have to keep having a conversation about protecting our communities from the federal government, but when I'm elected governor, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I will not allow the federal government and their institutions to violate the civil rights of constituents in Illinois. It just won't happen.
All right, and final question for our viewers and subscribers. Where can they find you and your campaign on social media?
I'm on Facebook, and it's Ameya Pawar for governor. Our website is pawar2018.com. That's Pawar 2018.com. And I'm on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're all the major platforms. Come find us. Come see what we have to say, and engage with us. We're looking forward to a vigorous debate in the Democratic primary, and it's good to see that the progressive agenda and progressive issues are at the forefront of where the Democratic Party's headed.
All right, Alderman Pawar, thank you for joining Heartlands Media. Peace to everyone, and let's all do what we can to build a better future.